The Rick and Shauna Show, baby. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Smart moves, smart doors. That's the way to go. For every rental dream, they help the numbers flow. Before you buy, after you close, they help you know. Welcome to the Rick and Shauna Show.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Rick and Shauna Show. If this is your first time here, we are a local property management company to the Stark and Summit County area, also Cuyahoga County, that includes Cleveland. We are here to give you some tips, advice, what to do, what not to do, how to choose a property management company, all of those things on this podcast. So we hope that you stay tuned and come back for more.
All right, well, let's just get started here. So we're going to be, looking at our notes here. There's quite a bit of information on this particular one, so we want to make sure that we don't forget anything. But one of the challenges that can come up with an owner, and it's a lot of it is based on money, and we totally understand that. But the owner who would not approve repairs, right? And at face value, it seems like, well, what's that mean?
Right.
And we're more or less talking about repairs that are going to cause issues down the line. They're causing issues for a tenant, but they're also damaging the property. So just things to think about there, because these will kind of come back to bite you.
Yeah, it can start out super small, right?
Absolutely.
Small plumbing leak or something. Hey, my sink, it's leaking underneath, right? And it doesn't get addressed. You're like, well, that's small. Well, that's going to turn into something major because now it's damaging, it's creating mold, it's doing all the things, right? And that deferred maintenance will come back to bite you 9 times
every
out of 10.
Every time. And at face value, you are saving a little bit of money because you're saying, okay, well, I can just kind of put that off.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is that problem continues to grow, and then somebody actually does go in there because now something does have to be done. It's no longer minor. Right. And then you get that big bill.
Oh, yeah.
So it almost never pays off when you defer maintenance. Some things, you can. But it almost never pays off, in the long run.
Yeah, we've had some landlords throughout the years that unfortunately, whether they have just one property and it's not really cash flowing that well, so they're like, well, if I can hold off, I'm going to. Whether the tenant already lives there or it's like before a tenant moves in, we're getting ready to market it. It just doesn't pay to defer that maintenance because it's damaging the house, it's causing more issues, and even not just things that you can see, especially with water. It's causing these things that could be happening behind the scenes. Mold grows, and trust me, it doesn't matter if it's, what is that stuff called? Effervescence?
Effervescence.
Yes.
That's actually the kind of white stuff that grows on that.
It doesn't matter if it's that or actual mold. A tenant's going to call it out, and all of a sudden they're sick, they're not able to breathe, they've got allergies. And I'm not saying that those are not all valid, but we want to try to prevent those,
Absolutely.
Right?
You don't want to put somebody in that position. Yeah, you don't want to put somebody in that position right out of the gate. It becomes, to your point, if somebody's moving in, first of all, if somebody sees some of those things, then maybe you're thinking, I just didn't want to do that. That changes things for who's going to get in that property, because the tenant that really is looking at this stuff and really paying attention, believe it or not, it's actually the tenant you want.
Yes, for
because they are going to take care of the property. They're not just going to be like, oh, well, hey, it is what it is.
Right.
But ultimately, you could cost yourself a vacancy. You think you put the money and everything in it to turn the property, and then you have some challenges going on, and you could be frustrating a tenant. Like, well, I'll do that, and the tenant's like, hey, man, this really should be done. Frustration level starts to get up, and they may be at the end of their term too. So if they're at the end of their term and you want to get a renewal and keep that tenant in there, they're like, hey, I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
So this can cause some problems.
It makes them mad too. So if they're not at the end of their term, they're going to wish they were, right?
Yep.
And they're going to give us a really hard time as a property management company. And that means we have to give an owner a hard time, basically.
Right.
We got to kind of put the
100%. And the worst case scenario is when somebody takes it a step further, and they get somebody else involved, which could be fair housing. It could be
definitely don't want that.
Your property could go into abatement. There's all kinds of things that can happen there. So it's just easier to stay on top of it. And deferred maintenance, it's like I get it with a roof. It's like, hey, can I get a couple more years out of the roof?
Yeah, for sure.
100%. This is the stuff that's really that's causing a tenant a problem, more than likely.
And damaging your investment,
property.
right? So just do the work, basically. Bottom line, the lesson here is do the work. When it comes up, you have a happy tenant, happy property management company, a nice house, you're maintaining it, you're preserving it, because it's not cheap.
Yeah, and even if you can't do it all once, it sends a good signal to the tenant. It's like, hey, look, we're going to do these things in steps. Like, hey, I know you have this issue with the water. We're going to get that handled right away. The next thing we're going to do is this. So it just shows a tenant that you're staying on top of it and that you want to do a good job for them.
Yeah. So, the cheapest decision doesn't always come out to be the least expensive.
Almost never.
Right?
Almost never.
It's the most expensive.
Right. All right, so you're going to take the next one here?
So the next one is the move-out surprise. The tenant that, I call them midnight movers, right? They don't tell us. We have no idea they're getting ready to move out, and then all of a sudden, we drive by or somebody calls or the utilities are shut off, whatever, or they're not paying, right? And we've found out that maybe 2-3 weeks, a month down the road, they've moved out. So it's, there could be a lot of things that go with that. When they move out, they don't always move out delicately, right?
No, and to your point, moving out and not even, like it could be 2-3 weeks.
Yep.
Because
there's no reason for us to be watching that house that's occupied, right?
Absolutely not. And then especially, it could be winter.
Yeah, oh gosh.
And that's just a whole nother mess.
The winters here in Ohio are not landlord friendly.
No, and trust me, that is one of the biggest concerns. Once October rolls around, property management companies start getting nervous about a lot of things with properties because frozen pipes. And,
we're losing sleep.
Yes, because those can cause just an incredible amount of damage.
Right.
I mean, huge.
It's very important, though, like with these people, whether they're midnight movers or they are just, moving out, doing your due diligence ahead of time, right? Doing your walkthroughs, making sure you document what's at the house, like appliances and, what belongs to them and what doesn't. Because I got to tell you, a lot of times when these people move out and it's not a scheduled move out, they take everything with them. They take the fridge, they take the stove, and it may not even belong to them.
No, that's right.
So documentation ahead of time is very important. So, being self-managed, or if you're with a smaller property management company, because let's face it, we've seen it where they don't have the policy and procedures in place like, a larger property management company does with more volume and more, where you have to have more structure.
More structure, yeah. And one of the things is, and you kind of touched on it there for a second, but is with the inspections. With inspections, we leave that up to the owner.
We do.
The owners basically will state, hey, I would like to have inspections. We leave that up to them. But I guess the value of having those inspections is that you discover a lot of things in the property.
Oh, yeah.
You could be discovering the fact that they've, who knows how many people may be living in the property. It might be a lot of people living in the property. And the property may not be being taken care of well.
Right.
And if you can catch those things, a lot of times it's like, hey, just a quick message to a tenant. Hey, we noticed when we did a walkthrough, there was this and that. There was a couple things that weren't right, and these tenants can get on. We can get on top of it.
Right.
So ultimately, down the road, then when that tenant does move out, there's not this big surprise like you've got this big expensive turn because the tenant just did not take care of the property the whole time they were in there. So there's no guarantees, but this certainly is an important one.
Yeah, don't wait until they move out to find out what your property looks like.
Absolutely.
Especially if these are tenants that have been there for a while. We at Icon Property Management, we do leave it up to the property owners to do it by request, but we highly suggest that they do it, right?
Yep.
do one at least if you're not going to do it once every 6 months, do it at least once a year. At least get some eyes on it. I know we have maintenance people that go in and, but.
And we try to get them to pay attention to these things.
Yeah.
But when you're specifically there for that reason,
you're looking at it in a different way.
Yeah, you're there to look at it and try to see what's going on in the property if it's being taken care of.
Which is kind of like another reason why you want to use a property management company, right? You want to have one that has the policies and procedures in place. We have the staff that can do that. We have the system that will document all of that, all in one place.
Yeah, and it's great because then an owner can go in and they can actually look at this stuff.
They
get these pictures and they can kind of see. It's it's a comforting thing as an owner to go, hey, look, I got great tenants in there. They're taking really good care of the place, and you just know at the end of that term, if they do leave, hopefully they stay.
Yeah.
But if they do leave, is that, hey, my cost is probably going to be minimal.
Yeah, you can brace yourself for it, right?
And I will tell you, as we've talked about many times, those turns, it can make or break you.
Oh, yeah.
It can make or break you, so.
Yeah, and inspection, I think, also kind of lets the tenant, it lets them know, or it makes them aware that we're paying attention. So we're just not letting it go. An inspection here or there is going to keep them on their toes a little bit, per se, like, oh, they're coming through, so if they don't keep it clean 9 months out of the year, at least least they have one time where they clean up.
But chances are when they know it's going to happen, if it's done quarterly, every half, whatever it is, they know that they can't let it get too far gone because they are going to it's coming.
Well, it's setting that expectation,
it's setting
right?
the expectation,
right.
yes.
Which is another thing, we try to do as much of that up front as possible anyways, just kind of letting them know, about all of our processes. But that one really sets the precedent for.
Well, and then just understanding too is after that inspection happens, if there's things, if the property is not being taken care of, the tenant is going to get information, addressing that.
Oh, yeah.
So they are going to know that, well, okay, I got to do this. I got to clean this up. I got to make sure my lawn's mowed. I got to make sure all these things are done because if it's not done, it's going to be a problem.
Right. We're pointing those things out. We're not just going to come and go and be like, okay,
and then that becomes a lease violation.
That's right.
Once that is stated like that. So, there's just a big benefit to doing it.
Right.
Okay, so next one is DIY owner with a weak lease.
Yes, so I was going to say that takes us into the next one when, a tenant has to pay attention to their lease. You better make sure you got a good one, right?
Yeah, so this next one is, you see this so much because we take owners on that either have done it themselves or investors, and they pull lease more than likely off the internet. It's just a generic lease. And this is really kind of sets the stage for how, the expectations at a property, what the tenant is responsible for, also how the property management is going to enforce those, policies.
Right.
So if it's a very generic lease that's very vague, when things do happen in the property, it's very difficult to hold a tenant to vague statements.
Oh, yeah.
We
get them all the time.
I mean, the one that we get probably the most is tenant is responsible for all utilities required for the property.
Yeah.
Now that is super vague.
Yeah.
Because
sounds good,
it
right?
Sounds
it's just
great.
like it's a blanket statement, and you're responsible
you think
for
you got
everything.
It covered, right?
You do, right?
You think you got it covered, but then when you look at it, you go, okay, well, it's in the city of Canton, the city of Akron. Well, you can't even say that,
right?
Because they're thinking you're basically making a statement that the tenant is responsible for all of these utilities, but you don't actually state which ones they are. And as you know, the water in Canton and Akron. You can't. The tenant can't even put the water in their name. Now they're going to be responsible for paying for it, but there's a lot of gray area there.
Oh yeah. What if it's a multifamily and there's 1 meter? You can't. There's no splitting it up. You guys, there's no splitting it up.
Yes.
Just so you know.
And we've seen this.
Yeah.
We've literally seen
can't
where
do
it
50-50.
Yeah. We've seen where they're responsible for all utilities, and there's one furnace, there's one hot water meter, and there's one electric meter. Or I should say, I'm sorry, there's one gas meter, one electric meter.
Yeah.
So at that point, none of the tenants can be held liable for handling those things or paying those things.
Yeah. It just makes it really hard for us as a property management company. I do the onboarding for Icon, and man, the amount of the different leases that I get, that they are all over the place. And the information is not clear, or like you said, it's so vague. It's a one-pager, and you're trying to fit all this important information. And how did you fit it in on one page?
Yep.
Because ours is 20 pages long.
Yep.
I mean, I know it might be a lot.
It's a lot, but you know what?
Everything.
There's a reason, right?
That's right.
There's a reason, because, and it's not just, it covers everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It covers the owner, it covers the property management company, and it also covers the tenant.
Yeah.
Because everybody's on the same page. You understand exactly what's expected and how a tenant is supposed to perform at that property, and what we're going to enforce as, a property management company. So it's so important.
Yeah.
So important.
It's worse than a weak lease. No lease at all. Because
That's right.
we have had that where we've had no lease, so you can't really verify even the rent amount. Because is it still this price? Or because they've lived there for 10 years, has it been increased?
Yeah.
And guess who I'm asking? We're asking a tenant at this point. What's your rent amount? Do you know what they're going to tell us? Whatever they want.
Yep.
Now not all of them are like that. Some of them will be truthful, but come on, let's face it. Now we're taking the word of somebody who now has the advantage.
Yep.
Yeah, and if I don't have a lease and you've been there for 10 years, you can tell me whatever you want.
That's right.
Yeah.
And to back that up even a little bit further, is to like, hey, when an investor is, looking to buy a property, and they've made that decision, they think this is a good property for me. Mm-hmm. It's very important to have all that information up front.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want to see copies of leases. I want to understand what these utilities are all about, because we have it happen so often that, and no fault of the owner, that they really don't know.
No.
They don't know what's metered in the property. They literally just don't know, or they've been given bad information.
I was going to say that next. They just don't know because they've been given
bad information.
Yeah.
And they're out-of-state owners, so they can. There's only so much that they can do.
Right.
They have to lean. To your point, we've made many times, is that's the importance of having somebody that's local on the street that can go look at the property, try to figure this stuff out, because there's a lot of unwinding.
Let us help you. Let us help you.
Yes.
I mean, because there's so much there's already so much to unwind when you take on, a property owner that's either self-managed, maybe just bought a property, or has had a previous property management company that just kind of wasn't, working out. And getting those accounts and getting those property owners on, they're already frustrated. They don't have everything in place, and all of these things that we're going over, all these challenges that we're going over, they all happen.
Right, and an owner has also made a decision based on the income that's going to come in on that property. And when you start throwing utilities in there that they're now going to have to pay, that just throws everything off.
Well, we just ran into one of these, right?
Yeah.
So we just onboarded one that the lease said the tenant pays gas and electric, right?
Yes. Yes.
And guess what? They paid neither.
Neither.
So when this is a brand new purchase, you're, as an owner, thinking that you don't have to cover all utilities, only water, sewer, trash.
Yep.
And now we have had to be the bearer of bad news and say, hey, sorry, that's not right. Tenant says they pay nothing. And the utility companies confirm that.
Yeah, and that's just,
That goes back to buying a property wrong.
So disappointed when it happens,
podcast.
because you just basically took money out of your pocket that you were unaware of, that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
So very important.
So it's just that lends to the importance of how good your property management company is too, and how much experience they've had. Unfortunately, if you have all good experiences, you don't know what to research and you don't know what to dig into, right? We've done this for so long that
You just through trial and error, you find out.
and you think you've come across every single thing, but until you don't. And there's one more that you're like, man, never dealt with that before.
Right. And that's exactly right. That's how we learn, and that's how you get better and better. Because unfortunately, there's no way that you can cover every situation, because that's one thing about property management. It's a moving target.
Oh yeah.
It's always a moving target. Things change all the time. You see things, every day you see something, you're like, well, never saw that before.
Right.
Or I never had that come up before. So as those things happen, we're trying to put policies and procedures into place that are going to prevent that. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So it's just a moving target. And the more information you have, and the better we can be about communication and all of those things, the better. It's just going to be a better experience for everyone.
Right. So moral of the story with this one, with a weak lease or no lease, is the lease is more than just paperwork. It actually has to say something and be specific.
Can't just be a signature.
That's right. Be specific, right?
Yeah.
It kind of just sets the tone for the whole experience, the whole relationship. Clears up anything that, could be a disagreement. So moving on to the last one, the property that looked better in pictures. How many times have we run across this one?
Oh, this is a big one.
This is huge.
This is a big one.
That out-of-state investor that's purchasing a property, doesn't do a walkthrough, pictures look great, it's rent ready, get it on the market, here's what I want to get for rent. And then what happens? We go,
and we see the real deal.
We're like, hold up.
Yeah, everything, it's turnkey.
Yeah,
it's turnkey.
In those pictures, it looks like it.
And it's unfortunate now.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of tools out there now. Like, AI. AI is wonderful. There's a lot of things you can do.
You can stage a property virtually.
Literally, you can stage a property and you can make them look very good. You can make them look very good. And, it's just one of those things that... it's just another thing you have to pay attention to.
Definitely.
Because just because it looks good in pictures, it doesn't mean that's exactly what it's going to look like. And it's not very often that somebody will take a picture of the right and the left of the property and up and down the street. And there's a reason for that. Because if there's a big problem on either side or the street doesn't look good, it's going to be more difficult for them to move that property. Because if an investor is really looking at it, they're going to say, that is my number one concern.
Yeah. Always get a neighborhood snapshot.
That's right.
Always.
Where is that property sitting?
Yeah.
Because you can make a crappy property into a really nice property that sits in a nice spot, but if it doesn't, that's the one thing you can't change. You can't change where it sits.
That's our motto these days.
100%, man.
What is sitting next door?
Yeah, I'd rather see an investor buy a property that has a lot of challenges, because I know once we get it there, once we help that investor get that property up to speed, we know that this property is going to do well. It's going to perform well.
Well, those are the ones you can control, right? Those are the things within the control
100%.
of, to change it. However, it does still lend to the challenge that you bought it probably at a higher price because you thought it was turnkey.
And there you go.
And now if we manage it, we do a we do a walkthrough, right? We do that initial walkthrough. We want to make sure before we send our photographer out there that it's ready to go.
Yeah, and I will tell you that for us, there's many times that we have investors who will say, hey, can you guys take a look at the property?
Yeah.
And really for us, we're not even that concerned about the inside. When we go look at a property, we're more concerned about driving that street and looking what's around it, because the rest of the stuff we're going to be able to manage. Now it depends, obviously if the inside needs just an incredible amount of work, that changes things a little bit, but most of the time that's not the case.
Right.
It's pretty minor. It's mostly cosmetic stuff.
Yeah, stuff you
and
can
change. And it can be managed.
Definitely can be managed, yeah. Yep. I can't stress enough, again, with the whole property management thing. Of course, that's what this podcast is about, so that's what we keep going back to, is find a property manager that's going to help you. Somebody local, somebody with boots on the ground, somebody that's going to, be willing to do the extra work. Even call us before you close, right?
Yeah, no,
call us before you
absolutely.
close. We will walk the property and kind of just have a different insight on it.
Yeah,
we
call
look
us
at different
before.
things.
Yeah, call us before you even, if you're even concerned about putting an offer in, hey, I'm just not sure here.
Yeah.
Can you guys help us out? We have owners we do this for.
Yes, we are starting to get a bigger pool of those investors that call us first, and that's great.
Yeah, and we hope that is the way that it goes, because trust me, nobody wins when an investor brings a property to us that has not just cosmetic problems, but where the property sits problems.
Or compliance problems.
Compliance problems. We already know before we even start to market this thing, we're going to get challenged. And then we're going to get asked the questions like, hey, why isn't this property renting? All of these things.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we're going to have to share are going to be the things that we can't change.
That's right.
So there's only one thing you can do then.
Yep.
You just lower price.
Yep.
And then that creates a whole nother ball of wax.
That's right.
So it's
just like that avalanche, right? That domino effect that you just and we don't want to be the people that have to give you all bad news all the time, right? We don't want to do that. So I'd rather you just, for these investors, I'd rather they just call us up front.
Do the homework up front.
And listen, we love our agents, right? We love our agents. We have lots of agents that use us. We have
wonderful relationships with agents.
But sometimes, like an agent, they just know what they know. They know sales. They know what they're looking for as a sales agent. That's why you partner with us and let us come in. Sometimes you're not going to get the deal, I guess, but you're going to get a better deal out of it.
But it won't be a one and done.
That's right.
Because when an owner finds out that, oh my gosh, this property sits in a horrible spot, it's just not the best property.
I'm never going to be able to rent it.
You want to be an advocate for your buyer.
That's right.
And it's just important.
Yeah.
So we know that sometimes we may cause a couple challenges for property that maybe isn't the best property, but that's our job.
I mean, and in the long run, though, you're going to keep a client because they didn't buy the one house, but now you've created a team, right?
Yep.
A team of people, and now this investor is.
Like I got a great team. Yeah, I got a great team. I'm comfortable.
That's right.
And
that's what most of them are looking for these days. And then there's lots of classes and seminars and things like that out there now that actually point investors in that direction. So it's getting better with, wherever they're getting their knowledge from first before they even find a property manager is go find a property manager first. Right. Get your team together. Because that online research, that's great. But nothing compares to local knowledge.
No.
So
absolutely not.
Yeah. So with your walkthroughs, and once you buy the property, and when we do those walkthroughs, there might be some things that we point out, right? Hopefully they're not big things. Hopefully we can get them done quick and we can get it on the market. We've got somebody at Icon can do that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where we want to wrap this up at.
Yeah, I think that's enough. That's enough property management challenges for one podcast.
We don't want to overwhelm.
We don't want to scare anybody away because honestly, these are all very much containable and manageable with the right people on your team.
Right, and just really, a lot of times I think that the whole idea when we do these podcasts are to educate people about, the best way to go about this. And that's really the goal.
Right.
So there is a lot of information. There's a lot to know. So we just want to make sure that we're, getting that information out there and maybe make challenging an investor to think a little bit more about what they're doing.
That's right.
Especially in a market that they may not be familiar with.
That's right, yeah.
So I think that's where we're going to end this. We are going, on our next podcast, we are going to have a gentleman on that does our unit turns.
Yep.
Okay, here at Icon, and he is a wealth of knowledge. And we know that this subject is there's so much information. It's a huge one because the turns that could make or break you depending on, what your margins are on the property. So it's one of those things that, at first glance, sometimes you may not completely understand a bid and what goes into it.
Right.
So that's the whole reason that we want to have Bob on. He can give a good explanation. He can kind of run through the things, the challenges and the questions, because all of these, anytime that we send a bid out to a property owner, there's always a lot of questions around it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and maybe just not even understanding as to why those things are even in the bid. Okay. But trust me, there's a reason.
There is a reason.
There's a rhyme and reason for all the things that get put in there. And the great thing is Bob is about the most laid back guy
Very understanding, very trustworthy,
and really willing to talk investors through these turns.
Yeah.
So we're excited to have him on.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think he's going to shed a lot of light on a lot of things.
Well, the rent readies are the biggest thing outside of the rent increases since COVID that has really impacted investors.
We hear about it every day.
Every day.
So I think that's where we're going to end up. So we'll be putting that out here probably within the next week.
Yep.
So don't forget to like and subscribe. And we will see you on the next podcast.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.